I didn't realize it was such standing room only. This is wonderful. I'm going to say something, and it's going to be responsive. So just kind of give the heads up of kind of guess what might follow the words. Okay. Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed.
He is risen indeed. We're so glad that you can be with us this morning for our St. Albans Community Sunrise service. We know that we have a larger community with us this morning. We are thankful for those who've made a little bit of a longer trip to join us. I am Chris Kilbert. I'm the pastor of Riverland Presbyterian Church. I want to thank Lane, the officers, and the ministers and the community churches from St. Albans Ministry Alliance. We put this on every year. One of the reasons that we come, I think the main reason, is not to see the sun rise, because we worship the Son who rose. And that's why we're here this morning. If you've been a part of the St. Albans Lenten series, we've had a series on covenant this year. Covenant of sacrifice, covenant of faithfulness. And I had the privilege to be able to journey with you on this beautiful reality called the covenant of the resurrection this morning. But before you go any further, let's open the Word together. We're going to be reading from Luke chapter 24, maybe a familiar passage to you. Let's prepare our hearts to hear God's Word. This is Luke 24, beginning in verse 13. Now that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them. But they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Kilbert, asked him, Are you only visiting Jerusalem and do not know the things that have happened there in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and the people. The chief priests and rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it's the third day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said that he is alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see Jesus." He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued as he was going farther. But they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it's nearly evening, the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those with them assembled together and saying, "It is true, the Lord has risen, and he's appeared to Simon." Then the two told what had happened on the way, and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread.